A few days ago, I shared in a video that Zia Yusuf, the chairman of Britain's Reforms Party, announced he was stepping down from his role via a post on Twitter. But here's the kicker. Within just 48 hours, he was back in the party. This has caught the attention of British and global newspapers because the Reforms Party isn't just any political group. It's a highly popular one that's gaining traction fast. If things keep going this way, it could seriously challenge the Conservative Party, which is the main opposition in Britain. A huge chunk of the hardline Conservatives within the Conservative Party are throwing their support behind the Reforms Party, and their popularity is growing. You might already know that Nigel Farage, a big name in this scene, has also made a comeback. Now let me take you back to something I mentioned earlier. A female MP who was elected in a by-election stirred up a storm by raising a question in the British Parliament. She asked why countries like Belgium, Denmark, and France have banned the burqa, also known as purda or niqab, while Britain hasn't made a move on this, citing security concerns. That question didn't sit well with everyone. Critics called it a dumb question and pointed out that it wasn't even asked with the party's approval. Interestingly, a similar question had been brought up before in what's essentially the British Parliament's version of Congress. And that's what prompted Zia Yusuf to take a stand on the issue. For those who don't know, Zia Yusuf is a British citizen of Sri Lankan origin. His parents came from Sri Lanka, but he was born in Britain. Over the past 11 months, he's been working tirelessly for the Reforms Party. When he returned to the party after his brief resignation, the British media picked up on something significant. Yusuf has flipped his stance and now supports the question about the burqa. He told his friends and others that the reason he came back was a massive cyber attack he faced on social media. People mocked him, called him a racist, and painted him in a negative light. This backlash led to a lot of questions, even from his friends, about why he sees the burqa, niqab, or purda, clothing tied to religious practices, as a security risk and what exactly he means by that. As I explained in my earlier video, the issue is that these garments often cover the face, making it hard to identify who's wearing them. While they're mostly worn by women, there have been cases where men have used this to their advantage, leading to a sharp rise in serious crimes. Now, a bit about Yusuf himself. Before diving into politics, he worked at Goldman Sachs as a financial analyst and investor, so he's got serious expertise in that world. As a British citizen of Sri Lankan descent, he's seen as a moderate figure. But to really understand his role as the Reforms Party chairman, you need to know what this party stands for. Their primary agenda is bold and controversial. They want to remove all Muslims from Britain, especially those who've entered illegally from places like Central Asia, the Gulf region, and the Middle East. That's their main focus, and everything else comes after. Recently, they've kicked off a new campaign targeting Islamic dress codes, specifically the burqa and niqab. This comes at a time when recent by-elections in places like Wales and Scotland have shown tight races. The Labour Party has been winning, but only by a narrow margin, while the Conservative Party has come in as the second largest force in some areas. Here's the thing though, the gap in votes between the Conservatives and the Reforms Party is razor thin. This tells us something big. The Reforms Party could very well rise to power in Britain in the near future. Let me be clear, this party is hardcore far-right. There's no hint of liberalism or centrism here. Their leader, Nigel Farage, is the face of this hardline approach. Right now, they're zeroing in on dress codes, arguing that the burqa, niqab, and purda don't align with British culture and should be banned. The response to that MP's question in Parliament is likely to ignite one of the biggest controversies Britain has seen in a while. If you take a look at Britain's social media, especially on Twitter, you'll see even conservative and liberal folks are starting to call for a burqa ban. This shift in the narrative is being driven by several factors, and illegal immigration is a big one. Just recently, a government report claimed that the number of illegal entrants to Britain has gone down. But here's the reality check. Just 2 days ago, it came out that 200 people crossed the English Channel to reach Britain in a single day. Last Saturday, to be exact. These crossings aren't a one-off. They're happening all the time. I mentioned before that when countries like France and Germany deport people, many end up being smuggled into Britain on small boats for a small fee. The French police and government have stepped in and coast guards have been deployed, but the crossings keep happening. British newspapers are admitting that people are still pouring in, and any talk of a dropout in numbers is just misleading. People are still trying to cross the border, especially through the English Channel, and it's a massive challenge, one of the biggest in Britain's history. The current government, its administration, and even its border security have failed to stop this. No matter how many staff, police, law enforcement, coast guards, or military personnel they throw at the problem, the influx just keeps coming. This whole situation is creating a wave of support for the Reforms Party. Let's be real. In the coming days, this campaign against the burqa, niqab, and purdah is going to explode into a global phenomenon. 3 European countries have already banned these garments, and as more European nations push to deport refugees, this issue is only going to fuel right-wing politics. It's not just Britain. Other European countries are seeing a surge in right-wing and far-right movements. We could see repeated incidents targeting specific communities, much like what happened during Trump's time in office, and honestly, we can't rule out that possibility.